Hello and welcome to the Natural Body Vlog. My name is Jason Lee and we're here to talk about some steps on health and wellness. Today's topic is menopause. It's a big topic at the clinic because it's something we see a lot of and all the symptoms associated with that, which we'll go over in a minute. But menopause is not an illness or a disease. I know a lot of people describe it as that because it seems to be ruining their life. Menopause is a natural process that if the body is properly prepared for it, everything should work properly. If not, things don't work really well at all and it causes a lot of issues. It's sort of like retiring, right? I mean, if you save properly and things go well, then you can retire and everything's fine. But if you don't save properly and you want to retire but there's not enough savings, then we have a lot of problems. And we're going to equate that to menopause as we start talking to give you a better idea of what causes menopausal symptoms and what you can do to deal with it. So what are the symptoms of menopause? There's so many, but we're going to go over sort of 10 of the biggest ones that people can have. The first one is usually, the day giveaway is abnormal cycles. So if you're used to a 28-day cycle and all of a sudden it's going 40 days, 50 days, 60 days, or even down to like 15 days, something's not quite right. You'll see this happen more and more, and then you'll realize it's sort of not just a blip, it's one of those things that's happening all the time. Or you might just totally miss a cycle altogether. Like it could go on for months and then you have a cycle again. These are symptoms that the hormones are dysregulating and things are moving into menopausal state. Number two is probably the most common symptom that people see, and that's hot flashes. Basically what happens is the hypothalamus is affected by the hormone imbalances, causing the body to have these vasodilatory reactions and vasoconstriction reactions, causing this heat flash to happen, followed by sometimes a cold flash. Sometimes they can be very, very quick. Sometimes they can last for a while. I've had patients who've had maybe one or two a night, or maybe one or two a day, and I have some patients who have 50, 60 a day, or too many to count. So it totally depends on how dysregulated the hormones are, can create the hot flashes. Number three is also a big one, that's weight gain. So stubborn weight gain. So you'll find that you'll be one weight for a certain length of time and it's like, this is great, and you're exercising, doing your thing, and all of a sudden the weight just starts creeping up, and even in spite of your exercise or your dietary program, nothing's changing. It's usually on the hips and buttocks as well as the midsection. So this can happen with menopause as the body's trying to regulate the hormones and it's distributing them in different areas, causing weight gain. Number four is sleep deprivation or a lack of sleep altogether. Some patients will describe it as having difficulty getting to sleep. It should take you 10 to 15 minutes at the most to get to sleep. Some people it takes hours to get to sleep. Or if they do get to sleep, they're waking up all the time at night. The most common time to wake up is between 1 to 3 a.m., which is actually, from a Chinese perspective, the liver time of the body, and liver has a big effect on hormones as well. So you'll get these sleep issues. Now sometimes it's just an insomnia issue altogether, or the patient's waking up because of the hot flashes that's causing them to wake up at night, which can further aggravate an already disrupted sleep rhythm. Number five is vaginal dryness. Again, because the estrogen is decreasing in the body, it's affecting the tissue of the vagina, causing it to become dry, and that can be very disappointing and annoying for people. Number six is mood swings. Ups and downs, mood dysregulation. It's almost like you're sort of having PMS all the time, and that can be also very upsetting for patients because they don't feel in control of themselves. Lots of mood issues, from anger to sadness, or up and down all over the place, so mood is a big thing. Number seven is water retention. So you see swelling on the body. You usually see it in the forearms and around the ankles, but also just all over the body. Patients will come in saying, I just feel really puffy. And this is an inflammatory response. So as the body's inflamed, fluid moves out of the tissues, causing that puffiness, water retention issue. It can also lead to tender breast pain and discomfort on the body as well. And some patients it's so severe it's almost like fibromyalgia type pain, where they have muscular pain everywhere on the body. Number eight, in line with pain, is chronic headaches. You'll have patients that have just headaches all the time, or just a low-grade pain right here usually, or on the sides, or sometimes in the back. That can be from muscle tension, it can be from inflammation, it can be from a wide variety of things due to hormonal triggers in the body and depletion of hormones in general, causing inflammation. Number nine, decreased libido or sex drive. That's always a big one. Sometimes just because of pain, because of vaginal dryness, and sometimes just low libido in general from a mental, emotional standpoint. And number 10 is another one, which is more of a physical thing, and that's incontinence due to tissue laxity from tissue changes when the estrogen drops. So these are all symptoms of menopause, but that doesn't mean that menopause always causes these symptoms. Some patients will have a few of them, some patients will have one of them, some patients will have all of them. So it all depends on how the hormones are regulated beforehand to give yourself a good menopause, much like retirement. If you save properly before, you have a good retirement after. And we'll explain how hormones work in a minute. All right, so let's talk a bit about menopause. I'm going to give you sort of an analogy to help you understand what menopause is actually like. Because a lot of people think it's just, well, when you hit menopause, all the estrogen goes away and all these problems happen, and that's sort of how it works. That's why a lot of people are taking estrogen in the form of bioidentical hormones or hormone creams and gels and all these kinds of things. But let me explain how menopause actually works so you get an idea of what's at stake and what's happening, how you can protect yourself to have a proper, healthy menopause. Think of the ovary as sort of like you going to work. So the ovary has a job, right? The ovary's job is to produce estrogen and to ovulate. So the ovary knows it's going to do this. It's going to do this for a certain length of time. And just like you, when you go to work, you're making money and you're hopefully saving the money because one day you want to retire. The ovary's like that. It has a job, it produces estrogen, it ovulates. But the ovary knows at some point in time it's not going to work. It's going to retire. Just like at some point in time you're going to retire. So when the ovary retires, it basically stops producing the estrogen, it stops ovulating, and menopause starts happening. But that doesn't mean we need no estrogen. Just like when you retire, it doesn't mean you need no income. You need it from other sources, but hopefully you need it less because things are paid off and you have the savings and you can draw from that to take you into retirement. The body's the same thing. When the ovary stops producing estrogen, it's got to take it from somewhere else. You still need estrogen to function, but less. So the main areas the body takes the estrogen from is the liver and the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland helps to regulate estrogen flow, and the liver is where all the estrogen is regulated from. So for a lot of people, when they retire, estrogen-wise, they don't have enough estrogen to regulate themselves, so they have all of these problems. And it's usually lifestyle that contributes to that. So the way to protect yourself into a healthy menopause is to start early, not when you have menopause, but the earlier you start, the better. Just like retirement, you save longer, save earlier, allows for a better retirement later, as opposed to trying to retire and save when you're 64 and a half. So let's talk about some steps you can do to help that process along and help regulate your hormones so they last and regulate the way they're supposed to give you a healthy menopause. When treating menopause, it's not really about hormones. I know what people always say, it is about hormones. My hormones are low, my hormones are messed up. You read all these books on hormones and this and that, and in the end, a lot of people end up going to hormone replacement type therapies, thinking, well, if I get more hormones that way, then I'll be able to make it through. But again, it's sort of like never saving enough for retirement, and all of a sudden, you find you don't have enough, so you have to borrow money from your friend to be able to retire. In the end, you still have to borrow from something, so it still doesn't work out quite so well. When you're focusing on menopause, the key areas to focus on are adrenals, thyroid, liver, and those are the big ones. And if you notice, ovary is not really in there and doesn't really talk much about estrogen. It talks more about those endocrine organs that balance all the hormones in the body that help with a healthy menopause. So the key is to preserve adrenal function as much as possible and maintain healthy liver function. For so many patients, they've really messed up their adrenal because of all the stress they've been under all these years from either work or family or commitments or other things. And they mess up their livers so much with doing lifestyle choices that aren't great. So if the liver's pooched and the adrenals pooched, menopause is not going to be great. So what are the steps you can do to protect yourself now to help with a healthy menopause? Number one, again, you'll hear this a lot, try and keep the alcohol and coffee and as low as possible. These things are absolutely destroying for hormones, and that's why I'm so picky about them in practice for younger women and for older women, because I know that alcohol has a big effect on liver, same with coffee, and coffee also is a stimulant which burns out your adrenal gland. You have so many patients that will have like a cup of coffee or two every day to kind of get themselves going in the morning, which burns the adrenal gland out, and then at night they need a glass of wine or something else to chill out and relax, which affects your liver. So you end up burning out your adrenal, stressing out your liver, burning out the adrenal, stressing out the liver, and you keep doing this every day, and over a long period of time it leads to a lot of problems. It doesn't mean that having a glass of wine once in a while or a cup of coffee here and there is the bad thing, but it's the everyday doing of it that slowly weakens the body and causes issues with menopause. You'll see a lot of people in cultures that they don't do these things every day and their menopause is actually not that bad, but in North America and parts of Europe it's brutal because of these things. Another thing that really affects menopause is smoking, again because it affects toxicity on the body. Anything that affects toxicity affects your liver. If it affects the liver, it's going to affect hormone balance. Number two, sleep. I mean, this is a big one too. If you don't sleep properly, how the adrenal gland recovers is through sleep. How the body detoxifies is through sleep. The body does most of its detoxification at night between the times of around 1 to 3 a.m. and some people are still awake at those times. That's why people with sleep issues, you'll notice they wake up between 1 to 3 a.m. They're not able to regulate themselves properly, and the flow of hormones is not quite right, so they wake up at those times. But ideally, I mean, 8 to 9 hours is ideal if you can. I mean, that may not be possible with everybody, but as close to that as possible will be fantastic to preserve your adrenals and help your liver detoxify the way it's supposed to. Number 3, dietary changes. I mean, this is always a big one too. Increasing fiber is huge. Going to the bathroom is absolutely important. I get so many patients that come in that are constipated. They might think they're not, but they are. They'll go like every other day, and it's like, well, at least I go every other day or every third day, but this is not ideal because the body rids itself of toxic estrogens through the bowel. It also flushes everything through the bowel. So if you're not flushing properly, ideally 1, but I mean 2 to 3 times a day, you're building up toxicity in the body, and that affects the liver. And the liver, remember, is the organ that regulates hormone balance. So fiber is huge. It can come from flax seeds or chia seeds or proper vegetable intake. I don't really rely on fiber from carbohydrates or starch as a good fiber source. I prefer more flax seeds, chia seeds, and or vegetable fiber, which is fantastic. And that being said, you also increase your vegetable intake. Ideally, 50% of your diet should be vegetable. When you look at the plate, just eyeball it. Half the plate should be some kind of vegetable. That's where the minerals are. That's where all the nutrients are. And these things drive liver function in the body to help the liver detoxify. It also helps regulate your adrenal gland as well. So that's huge. If you can buy organic, of course, if possible, that'd be great, because any non-organic foods have a lot of pesticides and junk in them, which can affect your liver, and that sits in the liver, causing liver issues and affects hormone balance. Another big thing is reducing the simple carbs and processed foods. We eat diets that are super, super high in starch. Starch is tough because it affects our insulin levels. Insulin affects cortisol. Cortisol affects our adrenal gland. Plus, it makes us moody, and we crave the wrong things. And all those starches as well have to go through the liver. I mean, one of the biggest things we see a lot too is fatty liver issues in patients. And fatty liver disease is actually not from fat. It's from eating too much sugar and starch that affects the liver, because the liver can't filter that properly, and affects the body. And a big part of dietary change as well is drinking water. Remember the line, we've talked about it before, dilution is the solution to pollution. The more you drink, especially with water, it helps to flush the system. The liver actually needs water to biotransform some toxic substances in the body to make them water soluble, so you can dump it out through the liver. So drinking water is huge. There's so many patients that when I ask them about water, they look at me like, oh, I don't drink water at all. I don't like water. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, you have to do it anyway. It's one of those things. Water, the body is like 80% water. We need water to flush the body. If you want to regulate hormones, you want to balance your liver, you got to drink the water. Number 4, exercise. Absolutely key. The body is meant to move. When you exercise, we actually burn off exogenous cortisol, which helps to preserve our adrenal function. And yoga could be included in that as well. Any kind of stretching or gentle movement activity, can just be going for a walk. These are all super important things to help regulate your adrenal gland and also help regulate your body. For some patients, exercise also helps to relax the body too, helps them have bowel movements, which is also really, really important. So exercise is key. And the sweating we do is a detox as well. So very, very important. Number 5 is some sort of mindful meditation. Again, there's so many meditation classes being offered nowadays, and they're all packed with people. People are just dying to learn how to meditate, how to calm their mind. A lot of people can't self-soothe, so meditation is a way that we can do that, to take that overactive thinking process out of our body and help us relax and preserve our adrenal function. So many people don't preserve adrenal function. They burn ourselves up in the morning because we need something to stimulate us, and we need something to suppress us at night to bring us down. And that's basically revving the engine and then suppressing the engine, revving it and suppressing it. And over time, that will erode your adrenal function. And that's a huge part for thyroid balance and adrenal balance, and hence estrogen balance. The last thing is supplementation. I mean, certain supplements do help a lot. I mean, see your naturopathic doctor, licensed practitioner, to get more information on these things. But B vitamins are absolutely important for adrenal function. They're also important for hormone balance. Omega-3 fish oils, or omega-3 oils in general, are great to help regulate hormones. Turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory, and a lot of menopausal symptoms come from inflammation. So that's a fantastic product to use. And a big one as well that we use a lot in practice is iodine. Iodine is one of the more common mineral deficiencies out there. Iodine helps with thyroid balance, but iodine receptors are also found in breast tissue and ovarian tissue, and when those are depleted, you often end up with cysts and fibroids and other kinds of things in the body. So I mean, these are a very, very quick summary of things, but the key is preserving your adrenal function, which is the stress regulating gland of the body, and also preserving your liver function, which helps to turn over and metabolize the hormones to ensure proper hormone balance into the future. And the best predictor of future hormonal health is to create it today, not waiting until the symptoms happen, but creating it now at whatever age you are. So thanks a lot for listening. Hope that helped, and take care, and we'll chat next time.